So the Queen 1 box set was released in October. 2, I mean, the marketing for this release has been pretty atrocious, with the first taste of it being the new mix of The Night Comes Down, which had fans, including me, a little bit upset due to the use of pitch correction on Freddie's vocals, which Queen Productions Limited have been using more and more on bonus discs and live albums, but now on main studio tracks. And then to put the final nail in the coffin, they released that video.
The new video for The Night Comes Down only just finished about last night. I hope you enjoy. We're all really proud of the work that's been done.
Brian and Roger have been interviewed multiple times to promote this album, and they seem to brush over the use of AI and pitch correction, which has angered a lot of fans in the comments on my social media platforms. It really has been a war zone regarding this release and its various formats. I personally went for the 2 CD deluxe edition with the main album and the session tracks, as a full box set felt like a lot of padding in my opinion. You got tracks taken from previous releases and just hastily plopped onto a disc, with one track 70 as a Rhye ... featuring on here twice, once on disc 1 for the main album obviously, and then again on the instrumental disc, which, yeah, it's not great. In this video I want to specifically dive into the brand new session tracks and how they compare with the final release versions, along with the 4 new live tracks that we've got, and also touch on the new mixes for good measure as well. Speaking of which, to start with, I thought I'd give my thoughts on the debut album as a whole. I really do think it's a decent first album. I felt like you get a really great introduction and showcase to each of the band members through their respective instruments on air, and there's just some really great and memorable writing from Freddie in here, which you see carry over to future Queen albums. I think the most prominent difference from this version and the original is the sound of the drums, which Roger got really frustrated over back in 1973. These drums, which are in-house and not Roger's own kit, were plastic and all covered in tape, with most of the skin taken off the bass drum and having a cushion inside, which you would imagine wouldn't sound great to play. So for this new mix, basically every hit of the drums is altered considerably to how Roger wanted it to sound. Personally, I think the new sound takes a while to get used to, but overall I do really think the drums sound way better and more like fuller and just like spacey than like the really compressed, flatter sounding drums on the original. On the other hand, there's been a lot of complaints about how low the bass is in this new mix, and comparing it to the original mix, it definitely lacks some of that deaky bass playing. Another massive complaint about this album is, of course, the pitch correction. Personally, I don't think the pitch correction is that noticeable if you're not paying like really close attention to it. But it is there, obviously, which is just, it's just not good overall. Like, I'd really much rather like to hear like the raw, normal vocals. And I feel like Roger's vocal appearances on this album are more noticeably messed with than Freddie's.
Yeah, listen, little baby, let me tell you what it's all about. Yeah, listen, little baby, let me tell you what it's all about.
Get into some more noticeable changes on the disc. The end of Keep Yourself Alive on the original mix features a wailing, high-pitched guitar solo, which fades out early.
Keep yourself alive. Keep yourself alive. Come on, come on.
Whereas on this new mix, it continues with the rest of the song. Great King Rat on the original mix fades out. Whilst on this new version, the drum solo continues right to the end. The biggest change on this new version of the album is the restored placement of Mad the Swine between Great King Rat and My Fairy King. It's been debated before whether the intro of the previously released versions of the song were edited, as the song starts so abruptly.
Been here before a long time ago.
But this release kind of just puts those rumours to rest, with this new mix and the sessions version of the track starting instantly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
On Rhye, the bongos are barely audible in the original mix, but in this new mix they're turned right up, which I think makes for a more bouncy and just more energetic solo. This same treatment was applied to the 1991 Hollywood remix of the track. On Son and Daughter, an echo has been applied to Freddie's vocals on some lines, which I do think sounds a bit messy in some moments on the track, but some moments it adds a lot of emphasis. Finally, Jesus has a new opening drum roll that's missing from the original mix. And also the a cappella outro lacks the cathedral reverb that it had on the original version. Whilst on this main album section part, I thought I'd also mention the new Keep Yourself Alive video that was released with alternate angles and a faster paced edit than the original video. The original video fades in and fades out 4 seconds before the song ends, but this new video runs for the whole song, which I like. Just as I'm editing this video, the remastered video for Rhye has just been released, which is just the same edit of the original video, which is a bit disappointing, but with a new mix over the top. The Night Comes Down was obviously released as a single to promote the album as well, and the vinyl release, as well as the video, features a single edit of the track, which lacks the intro of the song, and also a bar is edited before Freddie's first verse. Now let's get on to disc 2 with the Delaney studio demos. These are 5 early versions of tracks from the debut that were released on the 2011 deluxe edition, and they were sourced from Brian May's own personal 12-inch acetate. A higher quality version was actually found recently on the 8th of October 2024 by Chinwonder from the 1994 bootleg In the Beginning. Apparently this source was taken from well-known Queen collector John Stewart's reel-to-reel tape and then was burned to a CD by a Dutch fan. Obviously with the release of this new mix, the mod tracks for these sessions must have been found as well. The largest differences that are spotted with this new mix is that there's no fade-ins or fade-outs to the tracks, whilst the original tracks do have a fade-in. And the hiss noise found on the original versions have been completely removed. Overall, it sounds miles better than the previous versions, although there is still the issue of pitch correction, which is probably the most prominent on this disc, especially with Rhye. After these sessions in Delaney Studios eventually got them signed to a label, Queen were moved to Trident Studios to create the final album versions of the tracks, which we get to hear some of the sessions of on the next disc.
Well, the bass is coming out funny through the cans.
This is Queen's first ever single, and probably one of the best highlights on this album in my opinion. This version of the track has actually been leaked before from an acetate pressing of the debut, being entitled Early Trident version. That version had a slightly different mix. Along with a fade in and a fade out. Whilst this new version is completely uncut.
Dearie me.
With a different drum solo, this time on bongos. This was actually the last take before the final album version was recorded, and the band, Brian in particular, didn't really like this version. This led to the band convincing producer Rhye Thomas Baker to redo the track again from scratch.
We redid Keep Yourself Alive with Rhye, and it was pretty awful actually. I thought it was terrible. I was very unhappy about it, and I thought that the Delaney one was better. And I eventually actually managed to persuade Rhye that it was better as well. And so we went back in and did it again, in a way which was a bit more true to the original.
I do think the big highlight of this version of the track is the banter between Freddie and Roger. one of Queen's oldest songs, dating back to Smile, and this version does sound much more like Smile's recording of the song than the final version, with it being very heavy on acoustic guitar. Which in some places replaces the piano on the final version. This version starts with some light problems.
Thank you.
I don't see no light. No, hang on.
Oh,
Light's not on.
it is, isn't it? Oh.
The band seem to be working out the drum and bass parts of the song. You've also got much more falsetto from Freddie in here compared to the final album version.
I be this time tomorrow? Where will I be this time tomorrow?
And along with this, he does some countings for the drum and guitar, which is interesting to hear.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is an earlier version of what we got with the final Delaney demo, so there are a lot of similarities instrumentally. But a lot more rougher vocals from Freddie.
Oh, there's a lot of people out there. Ah, yes. Oh, don't listen to what mama says. Not a word, not a word.
This version of the song starts with a long counting from Freddie.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I also like how you get some alternate melodies from Freddie here and there compared to the final album version.
Breaking right out today, born on the 21st of May. Breaking right out today, born on the 21st of May.
Throughout this version of the track, Freddie does some scatting to keep the rest of the band in sync, and also to figure out the electric guitar melodies, which are not in place in this version of the song yet. I also like Freddie really encouraging and complimenting Roger's drum outro.
Oh, that's a good end, Rog. I like that.
This is actually leaked before from the 19th International Fan Club Convention in Presterton alongside Take 4.
Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know?
But it's missing the second half of the track.
Okay, you get the idea now.
3, 4.
I thought I'd mention that Take 4 from the recording at the convention sounds a bit more developed than Take 1, and a little bit more like the final Delaney version that we got.
Breaking right out today, born on the 21st of May. Breaking right out today, born on the 21st of May.
Didn't sound nice, sorry.
This version of the reinstated Mad the Swine begins with some playing around from Brian with the intro. Then Freddie comes in and ends up being slightly off key, which Brian gets a bit angry with.
Oh, it's you, Bullsara.
What?
It's you that's flattening bastard. You're going, no.
Here Brian calls Freddie by his birth surname, which could mean that Freddie hasn't adopted the name Mercury as his last name yet. As the song gets going, Freddie's vocals are noticeably softer and rougher than the final version, as he mostly improvises and hums along, which shows they haven't fully worked out the lyrics and melodies yet.
3, 4. No trouble.
Similar to Great King Rap, there's an extended acoustic outro from Brian here. At the end of this take, Freddie says that the tape wasn't that great, showing that Freddie was probably the more critical of the group at this point.
Do another one straight away, because that wasn't too good. Roger, you fucked it up.
This is probably one of the most Queen 2 sounding tracks on the album, and I feel like this song kind of laid the groundwork for the sound of that album. This earlier version is, as it says in the title, the creation of the instrumental of the track. Only the first half of the song seems to be developed so far. As the second, slower half of the final version is missing here. There's a good amount of false starts here as well, as Freddie struggles to stay on time with the piano.
I can't get this timing, hang on.
Hold it.
My what's it was wrong again, wasn't it? Oh, fuck me. I'm gonna have a rest actually.
And this version lacks the inclusion of Brian altogether, with the recognisable guitar intro missing. I really love the focus on the deaky bass playing in here, which is hidden in a lot of Queen tracks. Hello, I'm just here in the middle of the video just to promote a few things. First of all, I got my Spotify, where I'm currently chronicling as many years of music as I can. I've been working on this for years now. I've taken number data from like Album of the Year and Rate Your Music, so it's not like biased. But yeah, all these playlists are sorted in like date order, and what I wanted to create was like an accurate representation of like good music in that year. So yeah, if you're interested in that, please consider checking it out. Also, I thought I'd promote a video that didn't really get that much attention when I released it. It's my reaction to top 100 UK songs of 2012. I had a really good time recording that video, a really good time editing it. It's the most fun I've had with making a video ever. So please consider checking that out as well. Yeah. This is probably my favourite track on the debut, and just really showcases how experimental the band could be with these different switch ups so early on. This version of the track is definitely more complete than the previous versions on this disc, but lacks a lot of little parts like the moaning from Freddie at the end. That really add a lot to the final version. Similar to Keep Yourself Alive, this seems to be the last take from the eventual album version, but no elements have seemingly been carried over from this take to that, meaning they just decided to abandon this take altogether and recorded everything from scratch again. I like Freddie's ad-libbing and extra overdubs in this take, which I kind of wish were present in the final version.
Get a load of this. Are you crazy, mama?
I'm not gonna lie, the AO video for this track is just kind of tainting the song completely for me. Anyways, take one starts with Brian messing up on the opening riff and hitting a wrong note.
Oh dear, I'll try and do it without that note.
Something I noticed is that the opening drum and guitar bit from this version actually survived all the way till the final album version. Interestingly, this is the one song from the album where they used the delay version on the final album, as they found it so tricky to re-record, which might explain why some of the elements of this early take survived. The band then continue into a full uncut second take. The drums come in a bit later in this version, which I like a bit more. It kind of gives the acoustic intro more time to properly breathe. Like some other tracks on this disc, Freddie sings ad-libs where the electric guitar part's supposed to be. Along with this, the backing vocals of the final version are not present, so we get a good showcase of Freddie vocals in the chorus here. This take ends with Brian playing a little bit of impromptu guitar, but Freddie quickly shuts him up.
Yeah, sorry, Jane.
Shut up, Brian.
This is the first Queen song with Roger on lead vocals, but this early version is almost completely instrumental, with Freddie popping up near the end to sing maybe an alternate concept for the chorus.
There's one time's rock and roll.
This version begins with another false start with take 8, followed by the Trident crew fixing Roger's bass drum monitor levels.
So I can't hear the bass drum at all.
I'm pretty sure Freddie injures himself on something here as well as he screams. You also hear producer Rhye Thomas Baker rushing the band to do another take due to the limited amount of time the band had for their sessions at Trident Studios.
I'll do another take straight away. This will be take 9. Take 9.
Take 9, like I previously said, is almost completely instrumental and sounds pretty similar to the final version. This version of probably the heaviest track on the album has yet another false start from the band for take 1.
That wasn't a good one.
And then goes straight to take 2, which is the full run through of the track. Comparing this to the final version, this lacks the backing vocals again. And interestingly, Freddie censors himself when saying shit, which is done during live performances of the song as well as the BBC sessions. The largest difference is in the second verse, which features almost completely different lyrics, which is interesting. The guitar solo also lacks Freddie's ad-libs from the final version. And an extended outro is featured with some good chemistry between Brian and Roger, which sounds a lot like the BBC Sessions version's outro. Probably my least favourite on the debut, just a very basic chorus and just nothing that interesting going on for it in my opinion. But I like how this version is a bit more heavier and just has some of that standout chemistry from the band. This take begins with Roger taking all of his anger out on the drums at the seams. Due to this being the band's second time ever recording this song, the lyrics are not fully worked out yet.
Then I saw him in the crowd.
And like all the tracks on this disc, there's no backing vocals yet. In the second verse, Freddie accidentally sings the third verse and ends up catching himself around halfway through, which is funny to hear as well.
I'm singing the third verse, I'm not singing the second.
This closer for the debut album always kind of felt a little bit pointless in my opinion, since it is incomplete and would be finished for the second album. But still, I appreciate this early version. This starts with some studio banter.
Roger, give me that tempus, same one, from the hi-hat.
Before going into a full take, which is a bit faster than the final album version. And it ends with Freddie saying that he likes an earlier take better.
Actually, I like that earlier take, you know. I like the very earlier take.
Again, producer Rhye Thomas Baker advises them to do another take anyway.
Try another one straight away.
Which Freddie clearly doesn't want to do.
Oh fuck, hang on, give me a rest, will you?
This song ended up as a B-side to the more developed version of 70s of Rhye that we got on Queen 2. I am a bit confused as to why they included this on the set instead of a future Queen 2 box set, as the final version isn't on here. But I don't know, I guess it was recorded in the Queen 1 sessions, so... This isn't actually a proper demo recording, but a test session where the band would run through the song so the engineers can test the equipment. This version sounds a lot more like the BBC Sessions version than the B-side, with Freddie's vocals being much less flamboyant.
Well, she's gone, dear. Well, she's gone.
And just a lot more jamming from the band. Along with this, the tempo is slightly slower and there's some alternate lyrics here and there. Overall, the tracks on this disc don't sound as drastic to the final versions compared to the Miracle Sessions disc, but they are a really fun alternative to the album with a lot of highlights and banter that just gives a great fly-on-the-wall feeling to everything. I do think, unlike the Miracle Sessions disc, that every track on this disc is inferior compared to the final album versions, or even the Delaney and the BBC Sessions versions, whilst tracks on that Miracle Sessions disc sound a lot better in some instances to what we got on the final album.
Okay.
Now skipping to the end of disc 6, we get to the brand new live tracks that I want to go over. This is probably the most sought after Queen demo in history, dating all the way back to 1970 on fan set lists. It's been rumoured for decades now that a studio version exists of the track from the debut sessions, but unfortunately it seems like this box set puts these rumours to bed, as only this live version of the track has been released. From one of the last shows of the A Night at the Opera tour, Freddie does say at the end of this version though that they maybe could record it for the next album.
Okay, maybe we'll record that one for the next album. Yes?
So there is still a possibility that they recorded a demo of the song in the A Day at the Races sessions. Various audience recordings of the song have been leaked over years from different concerts, with Freddie singing different lyrics to the song each time.
You wanna buy the song? You did a good job. Oh, baby, tell me now. Yeah, yeah, baby, tell me. Hangman says they're very, very nice to me. Hangman says you're very nice to me.
And this is the highest quality version of the song that we've heard. This is the first large use of AI on the project, used to convert this track, which was originally in mono stereo, which in my opinion doesn't sound too bad, but I'm not a massive audiophile, so I'm not really one to speak on that. This track continues right where the last left off, with the band playing Doing Alright from the debut. I like how this version feels a little bit more rough around the edges, and there's some really fun ad-libs from Freddie during the instrumental sections. I think the problem which a lot of people have with this track though is the reappearance of the AI mono to stereo conversion, which in a lot of sections of the track confuses the piano with the guitar and makes for a really muddy and just weird sound for some of the like guitar solo parts. Queen also performed Son and Daughter, Keep Yourself Alive and Liar at this concert, but those tracks are unfortunately not on this disc, which is kind of frustrating, as most of this live disc is just taking the debut tracks from the Rainbow Show and just kind of dumping them on air. I'm hoping Queen Productions Limited do end up releasing the full San Diego performance in the future, as the band did professionally record this concert in full.
Let's carry on a number now called Jesus.
Now we go back in time almost 6 years to Queen's first ever performance in London and second performance ever under the name Queen. This is before John joined the band, so Barry Mitchell is playing bass in this performance. This was recorded on cassette by the band and was only recently discovered. It's just so interesting to hear Freddie's chemistry with the rest of the band and how Brian, Roger and Freddie sound in front of an audience for one of the first times. This also sounds pretty similar to the final album version, for it being 3 years before the debut actually came out.
Born was the leader of man.
Skipping forward 2 songs in the set list, this is a cover of the 1955 Bo Diddley song of the same name. Comparing it to the original, they play the first half much slower, which gives everything a much heavier feel to it, along with Brian's Red Special playing.
When I was a little boy. Now when I was a little boy.
And then the second half is really around the same tempo.
All you women out there, have a lot of fun. All you pretty women, stand in line.
Again, like, really appreciate that it's on the disc, and it really showcases Freddie's amazing vocal performance this early on. Similar to the San Diego concert, I do wish they released the full tape for us to hear, but I just pray they intend to release it in the future as a separate release. Till then, these tracks are just a really interesting look into early Queen.
Right, take 2.
Finally, in this video, I want to go over versions of songs that could have been included on this set but weren't, starting with
Keep yourself alive. Keep yourself alive.
this is a take of the song re-recorded in 1975 for a US single release. This single did end up being released, but the original album version was used instead. This was recorded in the Night at the Opera sessions, so I guess it could be included in a future box set for that album instead, like it did for the 2011 Deluxe CD. This was originally released on the 1991 Hollywood's remaster of the debut though, so I don't know. This is, as it says on the title, an edit of Rhye from the US single release of the track. This edit is extremely choppy and doesn't flow well at all, and it takes out almost all of the instrumental sections, which is just kind of insane. The band have mentioned in interviews after this release that they did not approve of it and found it to be a really big disappointment. Definitely explaining why it's not on this box set, but I find it worth mentioning anyway. I actually took it upon myself to edit down Rhye myself to around the same length as this edit, and it did feel absolutely horrible butchering up this track just to get it down to that length. I guess I'll share it on my second channel, Oh No, just for fun I guess. In 1991, for the remastered re-releases of Queen's studio albums, Hollywood Records commissioned various producers and engineers to remix various tracks. John Luongo, who was a producer and remixer, and Gary Hellman, who was an engineer, were asked to remix Rhye as a bonus track for the Queen 1 album. This doesn't actually sound that different from the final version, aside from some different percussion in some moments and some effects applied to different sections of the song. I do think it's worth including in the box set though, as it's an interesting alternative to different versions featured. This is a track that dates back to Smile, similar to Doing Alright, that was attempted for the debut sessions. This demo starts with 38 seconds of Roger being angry with the past take being too slow, and Freddie desperately trying to start the take.
Right, take 2.
Well, it doesn't mean slowing down. God, it's creeping at the moment.
All right, try.
God, it was so slow, and it was getting even slower. You always try to play this like I've never.
Take 2.
in fucking 12 string.
Take 2.
There are some small lyrical differences from the Smile version in this tape.
Past an open window walks a pretty girl.
And it's unknown if any further takes were attempted after this. This is probably the most baffling exclusion on the Queen 1 box set, as it would have fit perfectly on the Sessions disc. Some people have deduced that because it wasn't included in the box set, that they might be saving it for something else, like an anthology release. Some people have also speculated that it might not have been recorded for the Queen 1 sessions altogether, and might be from the Queen 2 or the sheer Heart Attack sessions. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this release. I just think Queen Productions Limited need to rein in the pitch correction and the revolting AI videos for future box set releases, and we'll be alright.
Yes!
Like, just the debut album as a whole. As he mostly improvises and humps along. Humps along? What? Take 1 starts with Brian messing up on the opening riff and hitting a wrong note. Rift? I'm gonna rage! Anyways, take 1 starts with Brian messing up on the opening riff. I said rift again. And how Brian Rhye. This take ends with Brian praying. Ends with Brian praying.
Stay pretty good.